Okay, let me show you something. Have you seen
Mm.
this? Check this out. Have you seen
Mm.
this thing floating around?
I have indeed. I have indeed. Speak on it, sir.
Well, from the little that I've researched, this is kind of a take on your travel kind of kit that you have when you combine your Steam Deck or your
Hmm.
many handhelds with your, with your I don't know the name of the ones that you have. What's the official name of them?
So what I have
Nreal, the
is
Nreal.
it used to be called the Nreal, which is now
Mm,
called the X-Real glasses.
there you go.
And basically, if I recall this idea correctly, it's basically your Steam Deck idea, but instead of on the display in there, in addition to a pair of glasses, this is requiring the pair of glasses, and the actual Steam Deck base station, if you will, is in the form of a controller, which like I would say do yourself a favor and go find some other footage of this. That controller ain't small. Let me just
I
tell you.
haven't. I mean, I haven't seen it in anybody's hands. Pause.
I've
So,
seen another photo of it.
oh, okay,
That
okay.
controller is not your normal size controller. You're just like, it's like a beefy controller, son. It's like it's a
Interesting. I
controller.
mean, that thing is housing the guts of
Yes.
whatever this thing is. Do you know what this is packing as far as what type of chip? Are we looking at?
I thought this is one of those 7840U joints. I
Mm,
thought so. I'm not 100% sure. Again, these are all reference designs and things. I've seen them floating around the internet. I saw somebody take a photo of one in someone's hand. You know, it's not really, it's kind of, it's vaporware until you can find it on a store shelf somewhere, or at least a digital store shelf. It's not available just yet. So,
I
all of this
do.
is with a grain, but still, yeah.
I do like I do like the fact that they took different ideas from different concepts to kind of be unique. Like, for example, if just by looking at the controller, you can see that they took the dial from the Series
Mm-hmm.
controllers. The little lights look like these controllers from China that we've been testing out, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It looks interesting. I mean, it does look kind of like a Win GPD Mini, kind of like the form factor when it's like closed a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So it's taken a lot of different concepts, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Now, do you know anything about the specs of the shades? Like are they going to be as cool as mine or cooler? What do you think?
Honestly, that I did not get any bearings on the specs. I don't know if they're going to be OLED specs. I don't know what's going on with them. Again, this is very much reference design.
Check this
Hadn't
dude
like
out.
you can you know how they do. You can barely get any details on this thing right now out there anyway, because right now it's still kind of in the look at us, we're cool and mysterious kind of phase.
I
So we,
mean,
we
look at
shall
these.
see.
These
Yeah.
came, I mean, these things came straight out of John Carpenter's They Live. Come on, we got to be real, all right? Look at these
Look,
things.
look. See, the problem with these things that they don't seem to understand is it works best when it looks like a normal pair of glasses that you would
Mm.
wear and be unassuming. That's when it works best. But for some reason, just like electric cars, they think they need to be space age for you to be interested in them. No, they need to be normal for people to be
Mm.
interested in them. That's
Well,
actually why I like my X Reels as much as I do now. With these on, they look a little weird because hey, it's small, right? But you take them off and
there you
they're a
go.
normal pair of glasses. You
Yeah,
put
you
them
just
on
look
and
like you just look like the weirdo that has sunglasses indoors. That's all.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right. That's right. It's better that than looking like the weirdo with some really space age John Carpenter style glasses
exactly,
on.
exactly. But I'm really, even though that this concept might not be, for everyone, I still
Mhm.
think it's pretty cool. And the fact that it's unique in what they're doing. It's pretty unique. Now, of course.
So let me give you a little bit of a little reason why I advocate for this, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know if you experience it as much as I do. Well, you would have experienced it because you have the ROG Ally, which does not have AFMF, right? It does not have fluid motion frames because they haven't implemented it on the Z1 Extreme chip yet, right?
They're working it
They
out
also
currently.
That's right.
Mhm.
They also haven't implemented it on the Legion Go because it has a portrait display, and that messes with some of the algorithm when they're trying to get it done. Now, let me tell you, my A1 Pro also has a portrait display, and because of that, even though AFMF is enabled, right, it's hard to get it working, right? But specifically in my instance, and in many other screen-related instances, this is the solution. Because as soon as I plug this thing in, AFMF works,
Nice.
right? Because now it disables the screen that's a portrait display, right, and enables this display, which is 1080p OLED. You know, I think it's 200 and something inches in front of my face, like really great. And then you can set
big pause on that one, but go ahead.
Big pause.
Go ahead.
Understood. Yeah. And you can set your fluid motion and it'll work. You can set your AFMF and it'll also work. So even when your screen is the debilitating factor, you can use this, and now all of a sudden the system no longer looks at its own screen as a problem and uses this and gives you more options. And this runs at 120 frames per second. So,
right. Because I think that, sometimes we kind of forget that we're literally carrying around PCs,
Yes.
many PCs that are meant to do all this stuff. So again, where this is going, I don't know. Vaporware for now. I guess we'll find out pricing later. Give me a ballpark. What do you think this thing's going to be priced at?
Oh, I would not be surprised if you're looking at both of them. You're looking at least $699, if not more. So, at least because while they're gonna save a buck on the screen, they're gonna justify it in saying that so much tech has been packed into this new form factor, and then they're gonna hit you over the head with the price of just the glasses. These glasses, Gen 1s, were $375.
Yes,
just for the glasses
right.
alone.
Yep, that's true.
Right. So imagine the glasses alone combined, and all the tech that goes into it, combined with the housing of the, so.
I don't know. Our resident, handheld king, Mr. Dark, saying $999. I don't know.
And you know what? I would not be surprised because this is a niche product, geared towards the niche audience, right?
Right.
And for MJ Dark, the man with the glove, he would no doubt want to purchase one of those things, but it's not ready for prime time, and they know it. Now, actually, on that topic of MJ Dark, you want to read the super chat?
Of course, yeah. So MJ Dark hitting us up with a super chat, man. Thank you so much. Like always, you always support the show, man, and you know that we always talk in the background and on Discord. Mr. Dark, $5. Do you have any Yuzu retired cookies for today's farewell? Maybe. You guys had some left from Jim White T. Ryan's farewell. Best on Switch. Laugh out loud. No cookies, man. I mean, Nintendo's taking the cookies, the milk, everything, man. They're taking it all, but it's okay. We'll get into that in a little bit. Dark, thank you so much. And okay, let me welcome everyone to episode 28. Dude, we're almost at 30. K, can you believe that? We're almost at 30. So
absolutely.
Welcome everyone to the episode that we're calling End of the Road. Okay, end of the road for Yuzu, end of the road maybe for Emulation, end of the road for today. Who knows? All right.
What are you talking about? No. See, this is the problem with me letting him decide the titles. It is absolutely not that. What is wrong with you? Go ahead, man. Go ahead. That's ridiculous. Come on.
End of the road at least for now for Yuzu. Okay, for now. Okay, but we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. I want to welcome everyone as always. Thank you so much, guys, for always being here, always being part of the show. We really appreciate it. Okay, let me ask you, man. I know that this past weekend, you, Everborn, and Logic, right? You had Logic as a guest on the show. You guys put on a great show. I haven't listened to the whole show yet, but I did see, man, a lot of new members. A lot of you picked up a lot of new members. You want to tell everyone about number one, how your week is going, what you're playing, and about that membership tier?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much. No, so over the weekend, as you know, myself and the Everborn Saga had of course the GCP, as we do, and we actually had a great time. We had Game Logic come on, showed us as he does. Showed us a good time, really, came out, showed out, really is well thought out individual. Don't always agree with all of the man's takes. You know, he stands on certain things that we may not necessarily stand on, or he's on a different side of certain issues. But at the end of the day, you know, I really appreciated where he comes from in certain things, and he's been on the show before, and it's always great to have him on because it not only informs either my thinking, it also like if you stand open for it, it gives you a new perspective on things. So
of course,
always appreciate his takes. Yeah. So it was really, really awesome. And yes, as you mentioned, there were so many new members that joined us. Absolutely awesome. We appreciate it.
No.
As
hold
you
on.
know,
Hold on. Let everybody know what tier is taking over. Okay, because we got a tier right now that's kind of leading the pack.
If you want to be technical about it, right? Because okay, ladies and gentlemen, you know we have 3 tiers, right? We have the missionary gamer tier, we have the hooved hijinks tier, and then we have the charge them more tier. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, those who are here, those who know this show, those who know this network, know that most likely these tiers are based off of some conversations and some inside jokes from our show, right? The missionary gamer tier, obviously inspired by the one Latino heat himself, Mr. John Wolf.
You're welcome.
Right?
Welcome for that.
There you go. Yes, and then of course the hooved hijinks being coined by the one Infinite Umbra. Okay, and then the charge them more tier being coined by the man, Mr. Everborn Saga. Now, you are here thinking that the missionary gamer is the one that's taking over. Now, while I will say we got a lot more missionary gamer tiers in the last week, which we appreciate y'all. Salute to y'all. Do you know who's winning? Who's leading the pack right now? The hooved hijinks are leading the pack right now.
Really? Absolutely. Okay.
More than anything else, we have a lot of hooved hijinks going on here. So thank you all so much for joining our ranks, and joining our ranks also gives us some perks from the hooved hijinks tier and above. Even at the lowest level, you can join our Discord. We have specialty channels that you can be a part of, and when you join them, we're going to do some monthly game giveaways and things like that. You know, and basically that's where you can catch most of our crazy ongoings. That's a little unfiltered, you know, a little unfeathered. That's where we have a little fun. So we appreciate all the folks that are joining us there. So thank you all so much. But okay, so shall we move on, sir?
Yeah. So let us know, man. What are you playing right now? What did you play this past weekend? Because I saw you.
Believe it or not,
show talk about a couple of things. So I'm interested.
Believe it or not, oddly enough, I was actually playing, and for this audience, different than the other stuff. I've been playing, of course, some Geometry Survivor, which I think is really cool. I've been playing a lot of. I played Airheads, which is this Xbox game, but I'll leave that for GCP. You can watch that.
Isn't that a movie from the 90s? That's a good movie, by the way.
It is. But I also found myself on the old ROG Ally of all places. And what was I playing? I was playing I'll See You There, One-Away Dragons. Was good, brother. I was playing Fable Anniversary Edition.
Oh,
Have you played that recently?
No, not recently, but I mean a long time ago. But tell me about it.
I don't know why.
What gave you the itch?
I don't know what it was. Something just told me to just start going on there and playing it. And I started playing it. And about an hour and a half to almost 2 hours later, I was still playing the thing. It's actually quite cool. Like, I'm enjoying it. I thought it was pretty fun. And the reason why is because specifically with the ROG Ally, here we go. I'm going to give it a little slander because I know how much you love it when I give it slander. But like if you use it for the battery life that it's intended for, you're not going to last long.
20 minutes.
You know what I mean? It's just not going to last long. So what ends up shining on the ROG Ally are games that were not meant to be played on there, or games that are woefully crippled in comparison to its capabilities. You know what I mean? So a game that's just nothing for that hardware. Which
so they're called the performance enhancing games for the ROG, exactly. so that they show the ladies a good time, you know.
Exactly. So it gives you this false sense that maybe you got it. You know what I mean? So it gives you this false sense that maybe you know what you're doing. Maybe you got that oomph. Maybe it gives you that false sense you're working out at the gym when in fact, let's be honest, you're just playing against bots. It is
Hey,
what it is. You know?
Umbra's onto something here. Okay, we're gonna have to take a look at this. All right, he's onto something.
You know what? And don't worry about it. We will definitely start talking about that. But yeah, so this is what I've been playing. I've actually been playing a bunch of like this, and obviously being that it is as old as it is, when you happen to play it on the ROG Ally or any handheld or any newer system for that matter, you can crank up the resolution, and then all of a sudden you're playing. You're really looking at it with interesting, higher quality standard. It's really interesting. It's been a fun time. I've enjoyed myself.
Dude, I'm laughing because I remember the first time I ever played Fable on the OG Xbox and thinking, why does everybody have such big feet in this game?
Yes.
And
their hands are all weird. Yeah. Their hands are weird and they got big feet. You can definitely tell it's an article or what do they call it? An artifact of its time. You know what I mean? But it's still fun. It holds up. It's still fun.
Super fun. And the thing is that this is like that time period in gaming that we always talk about, Kay, that it's, this was Xbox's version of Zelda. You know what I'm saying? So everybody was trying to kind of replicate the good stuff that everybody had in Xbox and Peter Molyneux and you know what they do, man. So that's awesome that you were playing that. Did you get far in it? I mean, how many did you put a lot of hours, or did you just?
I've beaten this game at least 3 times now. This recent playthrough, I think I put 3 hours in it. See what I like about this game specifically, as janky as it is by today's standards. It starts off very simplistic, but as you get older in the game, it gets a bit more complicated. Now all of a sudden you're a hero, and now all of a sudden you have more systems, and now all of a sudden you can be a badass, and then the more badassery you perform, the worse it makes the world. It starts layering the systems on. It makes me wish that and I know that he's killing chickens. I know that they're gonna redo and bring the Fable back as the new Fable. But we all know it's not going to be the Fable that we want. Not we want. I won't say it like that. Obviously, it's not going to be. It's not going to be the Fable that we remember. It'll be a reimagining, right?
Right.
What I would like is, in addition to that, because that is exciting, based on what I'm playing here, what I would like is imagine a Fable using today's modern sensibilities, but exactly this Fable. It could be a different story, but exactly this. Hey, you're a guy. You're a kid. You get brought in as an orphan, they train you, they send you off as a hero, and hilarity ensues, but in Unreal Engine 5, right? And I know what they're doing now is going to be amazing. I expect it to be amazing because the team looks like they have great pedigree. They look like they're going to do something interesting, but it's not going to be this.
Yeah,
right? At least that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think that the perception I got from the trailer when they showed it off for the new game was that they're literally going to take different fables, because fables, those,
exactly.
And then I guess the bosses in the game will be based around that, because I think we saw the Wolfman in it. I think the giants and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think it's gonna be different. But definitely, just like everything, Kay, they did Peter Molyneux. And the team, they had 3 cracks at the Fable franchise. So yeah, I kind of get what you mean. It's gonna definitely be different than this. So, but at least these OG games are still there for us to go back and enhanced versions of them, and of course through emulation is an option too, because Xbox ain't petty like that. So
speaking of emulation, shout out to the folks in the chat. Specifically Kirby Zero Louise, who I imagine right now is in the bunker, just like putting floppies in, going back up.
Yeah, all of a sudden
before the devils descend upon him.
All of a sudden, Comcast and AT&T, their downloads, the ISP saying, "Wait a minute, you're downloading a lot of stuff here today. What's going on?" So, but yeah, man. But
so what have you been playing, sir? What have you been playing?
Yeah, what I've been playing, Kay, has been Robocop, and it's been, let me tell you, man, like you know me already. Grew up, kid of the 80s, 90s, huge into Robocop, Terminator, and Predator, Alien, stuff like that. And we talked about it a little bit before when the game first came out, that you had tried the demo, and
Mhm.
we talked about it, how kind of true to the essence of RoboCop the game felt. Let me tell you, man, I think I'm more than halfway in, and I have to say, I gotta give a shout out to Nacon, dude. They're 2 for 2 when it comes to RoboCop and Terminator, right?
Mhm.
So that Terminator game that came out, I haven't beaten that game either, but I did get far in it too, and it really enjoyed that game. And this
Mhm.
game is true to the
Shout
essence.
out to the man. Real quick, shout out to the man, Infinite Umbra. Good evening, good sir. He says RoboCop is the first Xbox game with FSR3 support, by the way. It also happens to be the first successful, now I say successful because there were some before it, the first successful Unreal Engine 5 game that came out without bugs. Because all the other ones that had come out before it were falling flat on their faces until this one came out. So there you go.
And here's the thing. This is the reason that I really like this game. This is not over the top, anything new to the genre, anything like that. What it is a true representation of the RoboCop characters and world brought in right to the shooter first person
Fine,
gameplay.
except Fortnite. Come on, but that doesn't count, Kirby. You know that. That's basically the reference design made by the vendor. That's not the same.
Exactly. So this game doesn't reimagine the wheel, but with what this game like made me realize in the past few days that I've been playing it is that, you know, in a time where people are worried about AAA budgets and Sony and Totoki and Xbox sharing their games and all this stuff, people like with just thinking about this industry moving forward, this game proves that you don't really, if you have a great concept and great characters, you can bring out a solid game for under $70 and it be an 8 to 10 hour experience, and that's perfectly fine too. There's room for that.
This is literally the reference design for the future. Yes, exactly. All the people out there complaining about the potential, oh my God, the sky is falling, the budgets are ballooning, we don't know what to do, we have to fire a bunch of people. Limit the budgets, right? Let the creativity run wild, but within this limited scope. You know what I'm saying? And let them go crazy. Let them harp on nostalgia. Let them go find their creative juices on projects that they've always wanted to do. You can definitely tell, to your point, you can definitely tell that the people who did this are people who literally love this project so much. You can tell that even the characters that they weren't able to get the exact faces of, they got proximities of.
Yeah, like, very close.
Like they are so close. All this stuff is so well realized, and it's because you got people who love the product, right? They love the source material, so you don't need much money to make it look. Now, I personally would have thrown a little bit more cash at it, because I think you'll also agree that in certain instances, the best designed person in any room is RoboCop, and then the rest of them look like paper thin. You know, they look like paper dolls.
And their skin looks kind of weird too when like they're up close and stuff. But I mean, I understand the scope of the game, and I also understand the world that it's based in, and I expect it's supposed to feel like a 80s reference movie, stuff like that. So it works perfect. It's like the dynamic is perfect. Now, of course, I am playing this through the PC, right? So you know that I got to put some PCMR flavor on it, right? Listen, if you ever watched RoboCop 3, you remember RoboCop 3? Yeah. When that's the movie that he gets his hand chopped off by the samurai, and then he replaces his, I forgot if it's his left or right or whatever, but like with this machine
with a weapon
gun.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally sped up my speed using mods. So now RoboCop, feels like if he has a jetpack, first of all, and second of all, my gun is fully automatic. Okay, so I am just shredding.
So you're just walking around mowing people down left and right.
It's RoboCop, okay? And this man takes. Listen, he has some lines, some one-liners in those movies, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm just walking around just repeating them all. You know, dead or alive, you're coming with me, and I'm like, preferably dead, and I just shoot everybody down. Okay, so with my long-winded answer, my long-winded response to you is to tell you this. The next game I want out of this team is a RoboCop versus Terminator game. We need this from this team. okay? And you can have kind of like 2 campaigns that you can play through, and that's through the Robocop lenses and then through a Terminator lens. And I think that will do so well. Like, you remember that game Robocop vs Terminator on the SNES?
Oh yeah, way back when. Yeah, of course.
That the box was literally like this cyber, like this, like PC looking, like chip looking thing. It was so cool. Okay, if they bring that back, I would be like a little kid in a toy store.
It was a simpler time when games used to just come out and you'd have no choice but to play them for 5 months because there were no other games coming out, and or you couldn't afford to even go look for another one. So
yes. Now now to get off my Robocop soapbox, because again, if I try to talk to anyone else that's human or my wife about this, they'll just be like, what are you talking about? But I know you understand, everybody in the chat. Did you ever watch that Robocop reboot that came out like
of
in
course
20-something? What'd you think? I thought that was pretty good.
I've seen every single Robocop reboot. Every single Robocop footage you can think of. I've seen it. The TV shows, I've watched it. I'm an unabashed Robocop fan. I have seen all of the material, including the newer Robocop, which had the freaking visor instead of the actual helmet. Yes. Which I believe had its moments, but by and large, it was milquetoast. It was a little bit too generic. Yeah.
It was. Now, Michael Keaton, that was his comeback. All right, that was his resurgence into kind of like the action foray of stuff. And Samuel L. Jackson was in that movie. That's a really good movie, man. I'm surprised we didn't get a sequel on it. But
yeah, like Sam Jackson made that movie. The whole movie was just him being like extra, complete crazy extra, right wing nutball. Like, it was just crazy. It was cool. I loved him in that movie. Yes.
We ain't gonna go there, Mr. Dark. Okay, so so we ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna touch that. So okay, that's what I've been playing, man. Let's get into our main topic, which is really our only topic today, and that's let me share the screen here. Give me a second. This is what happens when I host. I'm not ready. So
take your time.
Here we go here, and it is Nintendo gets one on everyone today. Okay, and there's different ways to approach this conversation. We're gonna approach it obviously from try to approach it from all angles, from Nintendo's perspective, from the consumer perspective, and from Yuzu's perspective, right? So right off the bat, for those of you that don't know what's happening, Nintendo filed a lawsuit last week, sometime late last week, I think, against Yuzu, basically saying that because of them, they had many complaints, but basically because Yuzu is out there for people to download and use, it has led to a lot of pirating, and it has led to Tears of the Kingdom suffering in sales, approximately $2 million worth of sales or something like that they said. So in a shocking turn of events, I didn't think this was going to happen so quickly.
Shocking? Are you serious?
Well, it is to me because of the timing of this. This is fresh. Like they didn't even. Okay. I mean, they gave up faster than Xbox gave up their games. Okay, like this thing is. Hey man, I mean, I gotta. What man? I got. So Yuzu comes out and basically says, "Hey, we forfeit. Let's come to an agreement. We'll pay you damages, $2.4 million worth for Tears of the Kingdom cells that you're crying about, and we'll turn everything over to you, and we'll cease operations." And okay, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed in Yuzu, but I also understand. It's not like they were gonna be drowned in litigation fees and stuff, so I get it. But okay, let's start the conversation. Let's start right off the bat. Are you surprised that Nintendo this late in the game of the Switch life span is being kind of so aggressive with Yuzu? Like, are you surprised by it? Shouldn't they have done this a little bit earlier? That's what I'm kind of thrown off on the timing here. What do you think?
So let's put a pin real quick. Put a pin, and I will come right back to that.
Sure.
I promise I'll come right back to that. Before we start this whole thing, this is the first statement I will make. As defined, an emulator is software that replicates the function of consoles. The courts have generally ruled that creating and distributing of emulators is lawful under the reverse engineering principle. In other words, emulators are considered legal and they are allowed to be used to play on platforms other than their original consoles. Mm-hmm. That's established. Okay.
Nintendo doesn't like that, by the way.
No, hold on. While the ripping and transferring onto other platforms is legal, downloading ROMs and digital copies of discs, right? The emulators themselves are legal, but downloading it is considered as unauthorized, right? And is considered piracy and therefore illegal. Even if you own the physical copy of the game, if you have not ripped the binaries from the game yourself and instead have gone on the internet and downloaded it, you are technically doing something that's against the law. Okay. Often emulators and emulation is considered IP infringement by IP holders, by publishers and developers, right? And because of that, they frown upon it. These are known as the TPM laws, the technical protection measures, right? That's supposed to be used not to allow you to do what you want to do with it, only to do what they say, right? Those are the TPM rules. And because these things circumvent that, they don't like it, right? And obviously, in long story short, usually they come after distributors, people who make emulation, people who put ROMs in mass degrees on the internet, right? And by and large, more often than not, the vendors will not go after you, Joe Blow schmuck, because they usually don't want to deal with the PR nightmare of you, young man, little person, being hit with all this litigation.
Dude,
and
right now, there's a bunch of people in the chat after you said that just went like this. Look.
But okay, let's just establish the groundwork there, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on where you live, it's all legal. It's all legal, baby. Depending on where you live. Is it frowned upon? Yes, it is. But it's frowned upon because they're trying to make money out of you, and this stops them from making money out of you. So let's establish that framework right there. So to answer your question, to double back to your question, am I surprised? Hell no, I'm not surprised. Are you kidding me? So, okay.
But surprised by the timing.
Tell me you are a new PC gamer without telling me you're a new PC gamer. And that is showing me you're surprised by this, okay? I wouldn't call this episode End of the Road. I would call this episode Whack-A-Mole, because that's what's happening here. It's happened time and time and time and time again. Now, in recent years, what the developers have been smart about is they've realized that, hey, if we fly a little too close to the sun, we get our hand slapped. So maybe we won't fly too close to the sun. And what do I mean by that? I mean, maybe we won't make it too damn easy for the normals. A. Maybe we won't use software that's just so easy to mimic, the source material. In the case of Dolphin and a few others, maybe we won't use infringing copyrighted code in our own software, right?
Maybe we won't make it 10 times better than the actual makers.
There's that. In certain instances, the reason why certain emulation houses have been able to get away with this stuff so far is because what they'll do is they'll build the software, and the software is used for a certain purpose, or they'll market it for a certain purpose. And oh, by the way, the side capabilities of it is it can be used for this purpose, even though we don't want you to do that, right? And because of that, they can keep advocating that, look, we are here for your own personal use, for your own library, your library organization or whatever, right? That's what we're here for. That's what this is used for. And then those who are doing that, we don't advocate for. Right. Based on everything we've read in the case here with Yuzu, they kind of lost the thread, right? This is why when I said this in the DMs when we spoke about this, they flew too close to the sun.
They did.
They did. They flew too close to the sun. They were like, hey, man, we can make this thing amazing. Okay, keep going. Hey, man, we could make this thing the best emulator on Android. Oh, okay. Oh, you're in an ad for freaking Steam Deck icons flying by. Okay. You know, you basically brought yourself to the damn firing squad. You basically brought yourself to the Red Ninjas. You know, you said, hey, hi, look at us. We're doing great. We're doing better than you expect us to.
You're not wrong.
Because you asked the question, John, why now? They've been around for a long time. A lot of them have been around for a long time. There are so many emulators in this space. But what happens? They all go a little bit, they do one of these things. They do one of these things. And what I mean by that is they innovate, right? But they put not roadblocks in your path necessarily, but they make it a power user's tool.
Right.
Requiring you to go and seek out the firmware you need to put it on there. Requiring you to go out and seek out the binaries and the bits that may be not necessarily to something that they can distribute. You have to bring that yourself, right? And they don't make it so easy peasy to explain. They don't have these intricate, detailed tutorials. They leave that to the community,
right,
to deal with, right?
Exactly.
In the case of Yuzu, it is spelled out in triplicate, baby. It's all right there. You want to do something? This is how you do it, baby. This is how you do it. Oh, and by the way, we're on Android now, and we're amazing on Android, right?
And like, even with all that, I think that ultimately what did them in, because I think that they, like you said, by flying a little bit too close to the sun, also what happens to all criminals, and it happens in my industry as well when I'm working, okay? Greed, man. It's like people get a little bit too greedy and they get away with something and they think they can get away with more and more and more and more, right? So then you had the Yuzu a team basically charging people to play Tears of the Kingdom pre-release instead of just telling everybody slow your horses. We need Nintendo to bring out the game first, and we can, roll out updates and roll out. But
this is the point. That's right.
They got greed, man, money.
Well, it's not just greed necessarily. It's notoriety, which leads to greed. Absolutely, it's notoriety, right? If you because you're doing all this amazing work in the background. Oh my God, this thing can do so much. Everyone should know about it. Really? Because when everybody knows about it, now you're on Front Street. Now all of a sudden the ninjas got you on their speed dial. They got you on the radar. Now, let's be clear. Let's keep it a buck. Okay. If Yuzu had Nintendo money, they wouldn't have lost this fight. Because again, 100%. This is not a situation. This is a fact. And how do I know this? Because this is what Nintendo has done over. That's why I'm like, you surprised? No, this has happened many, many times. The only reason why it hasn't happened in recent years is because these emulation communities have gotten smart and don't go too far too fast, right? Before, they used to go too far too fast, and Nintendo used to be whack-a-moling them left and right. And then yesterday, tomorrow, some new one would come up, and another one would come up, and another one. And then they realize, hey, we got to stay under the radar, man. If we go too far too fast, right, grabbing them, all of a sudden now you're making it easy for anyone and everyone to circumvent Nintendo security. Shout out to the man Tide Talks. I see you in the chat. He says what he needs clarity on is the problem seems to be that with the it isn't emulation as such, but the products that are allowing you to circumvent Nintendo security measures. To be clear, that is a not a misnomer, but that is a canary in the coal mine, if you will. You've always been able to dump Nintendo games. You've always been able to decrypt their hex, right? You've been able to decrypt Nintendo, Microsoft, PlayStations since way back when. Like, you still can do that with almost every single one. Actually, the PS3, PS5's variation was recently circumvented, right? The thing is, decrypting that is meaningless as long as the tool you use to emulate it is not so easy peasy. But not only did they decrypt it, but then they made the software for turning it around and turning it into something that can be used super easy, right? So the lawsuit can't harp on emulation because, like you say, it's not about emulation. And let's be clear, the law says you are allowed to emulate. Right. So they can't say, oh, emulation, because they know that's a losing battle. But they can quickly talk about, right? Because the key here, the it's called the legal gray zone for a reason, right? The key here is you have to convince people that this thing is used for a different purpose other than also being able to be used for emulation. If the sole purpose of this is to circumvent security and by way of that pirating, then you're done, right? But if you can convince someone that, look, this is a tool, it has its use, it's a useful tool for this purpose. Yeah, it can also be used for this, but that's not what we're advocating for, then you're in the clear, right? The problem is who has Nintendo money to say, okay, fine, you want to go tit for tat, let's go, right?
Yeah, no,
this is why it's whack-a-mole. No, yeah. Because Nintendo knows they won't win in a big fight. They know that 100%. They know that,
and they're also trying. Clear. Yeah, and they're also trying to kind of like set the precedent, right? And they're trying to set the tone to anybody else that wants to come in and pick up.
It's fear.
Code. Yeah,
that's what it is. It's fear.
I
but at the end of the day, though, even though it's fear, at the end of the day, if you find yourself a company that's like, you know what, F this, we are not going to stand for it. If they go toe to toe with somebody about this in litigation, Nintendo would not win, because Yuzu specifically, like before this happened, I know you guys heard about Dolphin also got into a little bit of legal mumbo jumbo, right? But the difference is Dolphin was actually using source code that came from Nintendo code. That is a big no-no, right? The law is you have to reverse engineer. You can't use any piece of the source.
Which I agree with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
Right. And in other words, if you really want to be able to play your Nintendo games or whatever, then you have to, then the developer has to leave a gaping hole where you have to fill in, the firmware code in order to complete that circle. And now it can play the game, right? That's why a bunch of these emulators say, hey, go download the firmware or go put the firmware in there, because they need that to complete the circle. But if they put it in, illegal. If you put it in, not so.
Right? Lucius Augustus brings up a great point here. The smoking gun was them having bug fixes for Tears of the Kingdom behind a paywall before the game even came out. It's obviously privacy at that point. That's a great point.
Piracy, yes, yes. And that paywall part is the key factor.
There you go.
When we talk about them flying too close to the sun. Yes. A lot of these emulation things have always harped on, look, man, we're here, we're community driven, sustainability, all of that, right?
For the love of the game.
That's right. Give us a couple dollars and cents just to keep this project alive. These dudes were making a killing. And the minute you start making a killing, right? Not using like basically harping on this getting on this nerve that Nintendo has, right? Knowing that, hey, if push comes to shove, you're a house of cards. All I got to do is blow lightly and you'll fall over, right?
This is typical.
They know damn well that what some philanthropist is not going to jump up in the background and go, nah, man, we're going to help them fight this fight. No. The minute they blow, they fall over. That's what's
typical.
Happening.
This is typical narcs in the 80s when these criminals were getting away with crime that they were doing, right? Especially the sea cowboys, I won't say the word, right? And what the reason that these guys and girls started getting caught was because they were flaunting their spending. They were just flaunting it in broad daylight. And it's kind of like, look, we're not advocating for piracy or crime or anything like that. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna do something, at least be smart about it. Okay, and that's the thing that these these people, not gonna call them criminals, but these people, they always kind of get twisted. You see what I'm saying? So, okay, let me ask you this. Go ahead and get.
Yeah. So Ty brings up a very interesting, very, very smart question. He asked, would Nintendo have data that it mostly used for piracy, and could Yuzu come back and say, hey, 80% of the downloads are legit? Here's the fun part. That's what I'm talking about, where Yuzu's a house of cards and Nintendo knows it, right? If and when push comes to shove, right? if Yuzu had the ability to shove back, these are the questions that would be asked next. How are you able to define what's piracy? Oh, do you have telemetry in your games that define that, right? Because if we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom, maybe not, right? Yuzu does not use telemetry, and they would not use telemetry because it's in their best interest not to do that. Because if you do, that's data that can be used against you later. And lucky for Yuzu, they're also emulating Nintendo, which is by all accounts an abacus, so they don't have that next level tech that would be pulling data to stream to the internet to tell, you know what I'm saying? So those questions that you're asking now, how can you tell this is piracy versus legal? All that becomes factor in the equation. And the 80% are legit versus illegal, like even that also Yuzu could not tell, because the minute Yuzu would be able to give you that information,
it proves their point. It proves Nintendo's
now the court point. That's right. Now the court would have the information and go, oh, okay, you can tell the difference between how many people used your tool versus how many people bought it legally. Well, share that data. That's the reason why they will never keep that data. You know what I'm saying? So it is just the idea of this needs to be pushed, meaning like the idea of legal emulation needs to be challenged. And Nintendo knows that so far, none of them have the monetary clout to be able to challenge them. So all Nintendo has to do is go boo, and the boogeyman come out, they scare you, and you go away. But the reason I say this is whack-a-mole is today Yuzu gone, tomorrow Yeezy shows up. It's gonna be easy. This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that real fast before I ask you the next thing I want to. Like in your experience with emulation on PC, right? Is that typically or any app that has LimeWire of back in the day, Shazam, all this stuff? Okay, I don't know.
You're going old school there, bro.
Old school, man. So we've seen historically that when one goes down, the the next one is sure to follow, right? So the funny thing is that this is the part that I don't really understand. Like if Nintendo knows, like let's put ourselves, because we already looked at it from Nintendo standpoint. Let's look at it from Yuzu standpoint. Obviously, we know that they don't have the funds to really put up a battle. And do you think that they folded this quickly because they saw the smoking gun and they said, man, we did kind of profit off of this, so we're just gonna, instead of just spending more and more of our money that we earned with this, let's just settle for 2 million, whatever it is that they're asking for Zelda, call it a day, and we won't work on the next emulator, kind of quotation marks here. What do you think? What do you think what they're thinking?
So based on all the information that's out now, right, in hindsight, it looked like they were on some, we riding this out until we can't ride it out no more. That's what they were on, which is very dumb. It's dumb, because will they come for you? Hell yeah. You're flaunting your capabilities in their face, and you're not shoring up your back end. You're not putting some of those earnings into a legal fund for when they come for you, right? Like, so there are two kinds of individuals in this space. There are the kind of individuals who are in this space to just get what they can while it's available to them, right? Yuzu. And then not even Yuzu necessarily, but they're just individuals, right? And then there are the kinds who are in this space to say, look here, right? This space, we need to set a standard, right? We need to make sure that moving forward, these are minimum requirements that have to be allowed to the consumer by law, right? And by and large, that stuff was starting to be set up, right? That's why by legal, you have the reverse engineering principle that allows you to do legal emulation. If they had their way, even the creation of emulators would not be allowed.
Yeah, I see that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So it's like obviously no one is trying to say, oh, allow Nintendo to lose business by just getting it completely, like getting emulation completely to ruin their business. No one's saying that, right? But once you follow the rules that have been established allowed for legal emulation, right? Those rules should be standing, and those rules exist today. And if you really look at Yuzu and you look closely, yes, they made some mistakes. They flew close to the sun. They had some ambition. They had some greed. They were getting paid. All those things that you can hold against them, and I completely agree with you.
Damn
but
shame too.
by and large, they would have been in the right of it if push came to shove. They're not using Nintendo's code. They completely reverse engineered the whole process. They have adhered to all of the pitfalls that got the others in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just the greed and the, hey, we're going to start charging people and making sure we're making all this money stuff that kind of did them in. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this. So with the impending replacement for Yuzu that will be coming shortly. Now, shortly, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. Who knows, right? But now, okay, so now that they kind of did what they did with Yuzu, right? And they were able to get them shut down, basically. They're going to get some money for them for lost sales that they're claiming. I read somewhere that...
So real quick, to answer Jay Gaming, and salute to you for joining us. Thank you for being here. He says that it never charged, it was free. Yes, it is free, but they had certain elements hidden behind a paywall.
Patreon.
And whether the Patreon paywall, whether it was, hey, you're paying me for my work or not, I get that, which, if they're working hard, they should be paid. But in the realm where the copyrighted material or the material in question then is used to copyright Nintendo, they can use that to say, look, this has nothing to do with things like what do you call it, game preservation and all that.
There you go.
Here's our evidence that you guys were using it to enrich yourselves. That part became became their undoing, if you will. If it was like open source project and also like not-for-profit organization, any extra monies we make, we send to some project to keep games alive or something, and you could prove it, all that works in your favor. But the fact that you're making monies, whether it be altruistic or not, that's
you're
what
making.
Did,
and the thing is that I can understand Nintendo also, right? I can understand Nintendo's standpoint that they're like, hey, you guys are getting you guys are getting paid here for our work. I know that you guys are trying to reverse engineer this, but let's call it for what it is. So let me ask you this before you get to ties. Do you think, and I'll put ties real fast. Do you think that the Yuzu team can now dedicate resources to port some of those PS5 games we're missing, as Mr. Dark says, or maybe they can help out Phil and the team to bring on some more Xbox games?
You guys got to stop the ridiculousness, man. We're having a serious discussion. We're having we are having a PCMR discussion, and y'all got to bring the troglodyte situation.
Hey, listen, man. If the Yuzu team, they're talented, they're not doing anything. Phil, call them up, man. What do you? Don't waste the talent. So let's go back to Ty.
So go to Ty.
Okay, so it's like mods as well, right? If you make a mod for a game, it's generally okay. If you start charging for that mod, there you go, Ty. Anytime that there's monetary gain, that's when the company's going to say, no. Hold on. We want to make that money. So
when you start becoming a valid alternative to the source vendor, using like literally being able to undermine their capabilities, then they got their eyes on you. And Yuzu's been able to do that for years now. But the difference is, for a while now, they've been incognito, as I like to say, right? But the minute you start going, hey, look at me, you asking for it. By the way,
come on, man.
By the way, you're asking for it, and you have not shored up your financial defenses. So what do you expect? Duh, you're gone. That's how it goes. You know what I mean?
It's true, man.
So here's the question though. And I saw, who did I see? I saw, Jay Gaming. I saw Jay Gaming bring it up. And I want to pivot to that conversation.
That was my next question. So let me set it up for you. Okay. Let me set let me set the table up with the fixings and everything for you. So Nintendo went after Yuzu. They shut him down in a week. Is Ryu Jinx next? Do they have dirt on Ryu Jinx?
Well, see, okay, so the difference is this, right? Ryu Jinx, and I haven't dug deeper into this, so please take what I'm saying at a top level. Don't quote me on it. It seems that they're working off of the same kind of code base. I'm not sure if at the top it's a fork of each other or not, but they seem to be working off, and their process for emulation and letting you emulate is very, very similar. So it makes me think that they're kind of working off of the same sheet of music. I'll have to dig into it to really find out. But what I will tell you is that the Yuzu team has had far more attention and far more man hours and far more love and attention paid to it. So by and large, whenever something comes out, you'll see that it'll run first on Ryu Jinx, but it'll run best on Yuzu. Right?
It really depends. So, yeah, it depends on the game and the engine and stuff like that.
It's kind of, so really by and large, like so to answer your question directly, right? That's the world we live in right now, right? So as soon as this happened, people went, "Oh my God, go check on Ryu Jinx. I hope they're okay."
I already did. It's okay as of before this show. Yeah, it still works. But after the show, I don't know. I might not be there.
So are they long for this world? Who knows? But we don't know, because at the end of the day, this is not necessarily about just killing or whack-a-moling all emulators. Nintendo doesn't have the right to do that, right? The Nintendo seems to only smack those down who fly too close to the sun, and it was Yuzu's turn, right? Ryu Jinx. How many people know about Ryu Jinx?
I think a good.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think a good.
No, not Yuzu. It wasn't. It's not in a Steam Deck ad level notoriety.
I got you.
Right?
I got you.
It's not. It's not deployed. It's not deployed to Android and seamless notoriety.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I can see where in the crypto world, Yuzu would have been the Bitcoin, and then
exactly
would be one of your other coins.
Exactly, right. And as long as they stay under that radar, they good. The minute they start shining.
Hold on. It's not. I think that. But here's the thing that I'm kind of gathering as the more that I read and the more that I digest and the more conversation I see around this, I think what did Yuzu in was that Nintendo was able to catch them dirty on something. So that's the thing. How clean has Ryu Jinx been? And did Nintendo's lawyers dig up anything like this that they can?
That's the thing. Them? Remember, remember, we have a recent case to use as a benchmark, right? The Dolphin case, Dolphin emulator, for years has been the best emulator for Wii U, GameCube, the whole thing, right? And then recently, Nintendo were like, "Hey, we see you," right? But they didn't come kill him. They didn't snipe him. They just put him on notice because Dolphin actually had proprietary code from Nintendo
and they had
in
to
the source code.
Yeah,
and they had to remove it, right. And they had to reverse engineer it properly so that it no longer is an infringing factor. And supposedly that has been there for a long time. People have been able to actually even see that and call Dolphin out on it for years, and Nintendo never even bothered. It took a while for Nintendo to get to the point where you go, we see you. You know what I mean? I can only read the tea leaves, but it seems like it's the notoriety of the tool that gets Nintendo to act, right? And as Michael Tran here points out, and I really think he's right on that, it's the fact that then people started recognizing that Yuzu was gaining bank from this product. If you're erring on the side of, we're here for the community and we're open source and we're only taking as much as we can to keep the lights on, you cool, right? Even if they don't like what you're doing, they'll kind of reluctantly give you cool. But they were making like, what was it, $3,300, like $300,000 a month?
A lot, man.
Off of the Patreon.
Yeah, they were making a lot.
Right. So if they're looking at you and they already don't like what you do, right? And they've already surmised that you probably don't have the amount of cash that you need in order to fight your battle, right? This is Nintendo going, we don't like them too much. And they blew at you and you fell over, right?
Yeah. Now, that's
basically what's happening. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. And I know, like, it's not realistic. But I'm going to ask it anyways, but I kind of know the answer here. But I'm just going to go there. Fantasyland here. Do you think that there's a world here where Nintendo now grabs all of this source code and uses it in any capacity for their switch to emulation? That are they going to learn from it? Are they going to do anything positive with this source code, or are they going to basically just try to shelf it and put it on their wall of shame, as they have shamed others, as they have brought them down? What do you think Nintendo does with this technology?
So, okay, we can't know what they'll do with the tech, right? We can't know that. But I will say, and this is where you start aging me and start recognizing where I'm coming from, okay? I will say, right, there was a time, hypothetically, theoretically, where, there was a certain console that was released to the public that basically was Windows 2000 under the covers, and some of us thought it advantageous to make use of that Windows 2000 under the covers, and in so doing, creating the enduring legacy that is now Kodi. And in that scenario,
I was in those X-Link Kai streets. I know what you're talking about.
in that scenario, right, there was a lot of back and forth until eventually they could strip out all of the code from it, right? And eventually it became what it is now. But the reason I bring it up is rumor and speculation has it that at our allegedly at a point when we were at the highest height, when the device was at its apex of modification glory, it was put in front of one Bill Gates, and said, look what they're doing with our box. And so doing influenced what became the 360. And as such, that is history. We can't prove it, but the way that the XVMP looked and the very next OS and its capabilities were so one-to-one.
Oh wait,
it's almost
they're
like
using this thing besides playing games on it? Really? Is that
they're streaming content, which ended up becoming Netflix. They're using it for, a lot of the stuff the community literally put into those devices ended up becoming official.
They're actually storing the games on the hard drive? Wow. They really want to do that?
So rumor and speculation and all theoretical, but and we can't prove it, but I'm telling you that those of us that have those roots there will look at look at the jump from Xbox One, OG Xbox, and the operating system and how limited it was to 360, and some of us will like to believe that it's a direct correlation to what was done in the emulation scene, in the modification scene, to basically, like use that hardware for all that it was capable of, and as such, training the vendor, hey, we could do more with this. So to answer your question more directly, I don't expect you will see Yuzu.org get repurposed, right? I was making a cheap joke. They're gonna make a game called Yuzu, Nintendo is, where you're a kid hanging out in your living room playing on a computer like this, and then all of a sudden the red ninjas will descend upon you.
Well, Barnes and Nobles already,
and they'll distribute it on Yuzu.org.
All right. Well, Barnes and Nobles is already using Yuzu for some service that they have, or whatever the case may be. But I just think
I do suspect that you will see some ramifications from this, right? They'll get access to a lot of the data, right? They will. I'm not saying you should expect to see this direct correlation to code, but they will potentially use this for their own benefit and their betterment. And by the way, I hope quietly, when all the dust settles and everybody kind of forgets what Yuzu's name is, they hire the people that made the damn emulator so you can work on the freaking proper device, because they clearly need the help.
They're not going to do it, but let me ask you, they're not gonna do that because they know that if they release Super Mario Galaxy for the Switch 2 for $60, pay pigs will buy it, like myself, right? We'll buy it. We're all pay pigs, all right? We're all frauds and we're all pay pigs. All gamers are frauds. Okay, so this is what I want to know. Let me ask you this from this perspective. Do you think, because I'm also seeing chatter out there, and we've kind of touched upon it on our DM here, do you think that by any chance Nintendo is laying the foundation here with an aggressive push to shut this down, and maybe Ryu Jinx in the future, hopefully not, but do you think that they're making an aggressive push because one of the selling points of the Switch 2 will be backwards emulation, backwards compatibility, I'm sorry, and then they want to incentivize people to maybe want to buy the device? I mean, those that know that this is an avenue and haven't taken the plunge yet. Because where I'm going with this is that I personally feel, and I spoke to you about this the other day, from the big three, from Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, in my opinion, Nintendo's catalog of games is the only one strong enough, in my opinion, for them to be able to put a launcher on PC and charge you per game or per subscription. And I feel like if their IP is so strong at like a Disney level, that they would actually be successful at doing that, which is why people, I guess, get kind of up in arms at Nintendo when they do. I'm not going to call it petty because it's not petty. They're protecting their business. I get it. It's not, that's not the right word for it. But when they come after, Dolphin, and they come after Yuzu like they did here, it kind of like people kind of fight back and say, but, and I know at the end of the day it's an excuse, but I think it's kind of a valid one. We want to give you $60 or $70 for a game that is up to par on PC, but you yourself, company, don't want to do it. So we have figured out a way to circumvent you and figure it out how to do it ourselves, right? That's kind of like the pushback I'm seeing. So I understand like the conversation from A to Z, but like Nintendo, I personally feel they're missing like a great opportunity here to make money for their business, and they will kind of make it kind of dumb if they're offering something good for me to tell you, hey, Kay, I spent all afternoon trying to get ROMs and all weekend and doing something illegal and doing something that's not good instead of just paying Nintendo $19.99 for the month. I mean, this is a no-brainer.
See, but you have to understand, like, business does not think like humans do. They need to come to their own conclusions in their own time. And while they're coming to their own conclusions in that time, they will turn their ire and their full business sense upon you and make sure to stop you from pushing the envelope for them before they are ready to do so, right? So they are very much in their right to do what they are doing, right? The only thing that is unfortunate is, like, I don't aspire, and shout out to Loke7. He said this on Boomstick show a couple days ago.
Shout out to Loke, man. What a great
he's a great community member, very well thought out. Yep. He said this on Boom show a couple days ago, and I thought it was very, very apt. The minute a person becomes an entity or a business, you can never aspire any knowledge or any truth to them, because they're incapable of truth. It's business. Yeah. Right. And because of that, and it makes absolute sense. And because of that, you cannot expect that they will use any morality. You expect that the rules of the road govern everyone equally, right? Like, it's already been decided that emulators exist and they're allowed to exist. That's it, right? There are very finite and stringent rules that govern allowing them to exist and allowing them to be useful, right? And by and large, any of the emulators that are allowed to exist have to adhere to those stringent rules, right? And if that is happening, right, then there should be no reason why Nintendo can be the big scary monster in the room. But of course, the reason why they are the big scary monster in the room is they have the most money. So the problem here is the law isn't the law. The law is the law until it's tested, and those with the biggest money can always go down that path. You know what I'm saying? So Nintendo so far enjoys the fact that on the other side, nobody has the money that they do. So you want to go down the long stretch to find out whether we're right or you're wrong? Let's go and spend the millions and millions and millions of legal fees needed to get down to the path to realize that, oh yeah, Nintendo's wrong. None of them are able or willing to be able to do that, and Nintendo knows it. So forever and a day, the law is on your side, but realistically, Nintendo just gets to blow over any of these people whenever they feel like it. You know what I'm saying? That's the unfortunate thing. Yeah,
it is very unfortunate. And the thing is that I think that there would be people, because like I look at Steam as a service, right? With that they've become kind of the de facto. They are PC gaming. Steam. Yeah. So you would really have to catch me on a bad one financially for me not to give Steam my money when they constantly have sales that, they're no brainers to purchase games. Like the other day, or CD keys or any of these,
Mm-hmm.
aggregate sites that you can get deals from, it's almost foolish not to own the game at that point, because
Mm-hmm.
you're paying pennies on the dollar, and then your collection grows and you have a collection and a backlog and stuff like that. I just feel like Nintendo has to kind of, for their own sake of their company, and we've talked about Nintendo plenty of times and why even back then, and I'll still argue this, I think Sega is a great pickup for Nintendo, but that's a conversation for another day. I think that Nintendo, even though that they're good right now, the future of where this industry is heading towards, they are really far behind, because I understand that the strength of the IP is on their side. I understand that their consumer base that they target for the most part is on their side, and no one really kind of infringes on that. So they're
Mm-hmm.
safe for now. But I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like if they were to provide like a Disney Plus service, right? Like it's a no-brainer that even if you like, it will incentivize people not to want to have NES ROMs, for example, stuff like that. But they just need to make it
So
not
basically,
so weird
what
about
you're
it.
what you're basically saying is, long story short, if they follow the path of what do you call it, Apple, in democratizing MP3s and making it easy as iTunes, less people will want to
There you
pirate
go.
MP3s.
You
That's
gotta
what solved the problem.
You gotta incentivize the users
Yeah,
not to do the bad stuff, right? Because
that's right.
it's, hey, we've made it so good that you would be dumb to do so. Like
Yeah.
it would be dumb to do that. So I
So
would hope that they kind of work on that a little bit as the future, progresses, and we move into like new generations.
I completely agree with you. This is the problem that, and historically, Nintendo has had this issue, and I honestly think Nintendo will continue to have this problem until they figure it out. They've always been way too late. They've always been way too far behind. They just don't know how to take a hint. They'll get in there, but kicking and screaming very last minute. It is what it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, look, it's at the same time with the criticisms that I've given them. Hey, shout out to the Last of the Mohicans. They won the console war, okay? But shout out to Nintendo.
So
when oh, go ahead, Kay.
Oh no, please finish.
Oh, I was just gonna say shout out to Nintendo for being around and really having the longevity that they've had, and for the most part, besides a couple of fumbles with some releases, they have had success. So I don't want to automatically say that their way is the wrong way, because historically they've proven that they know what they're doing. But I just feel like, if, like I said, just in the landscape of gaming, of where we're at, even as users, I feel like their reach isn't where it should be for them. That's all. That I'll just end it there.
But you know what? We will move on, because that is troglodyte talk. That is missionary gamer talk.
Agreed.
And before we get out of here, I have one more topic I want to bring up for your consideration.
What you got?
And I think that'll be interesting for our PCMR audience, and it's actually rather interesting specifically for our PCMR audience. My question is, do you know DirectSR?
No, I haven't heard of this. What's up with DirectSR? What's this?
Okay. So remember, we've had this conversation on this channel and in this show on occasion or two, that Microsoft seems to be bridging the gap with console and PC gaming, right? And it looks like they're doing interesting things in the background. This is one of the very interesting things that most people may have missed. This is the best way I can describe it is, it's an HOV lane for upscalers. Right now, the quick and dirty of this, and I'll ask you what you think about it, is right now, right? You want to do DLSS, you have to make sure you have an NVIDIA card, right? You want to do XCSS, maybe XCSS is available, maybe it's not. You want to do, and XCSS always works best on ARC cards, on Intel cards. You want to do AMD, You know, they have their flavor, and in each instance, right, the developer is expected to implement it, and by how they implement it, it is available and capable on the machine, right? We have advocated that in the world where Microsoft has the best handheld, right, they use a reference design, and they not open source, but much like how third-party front ends tap into, say, the 7 series chips of AMD, and now they can control all TDPs for every 7 series chip, right? We advocated that Microsoft should aggregate and work with all of these vendors to make it single and turnkey for you, the consumer. And in this instance, with upscalers, that's exactly what they're doing. So I saw you in the chat, folks saying, "Is this another proprietary upscaler?" No, in fact, it's obscuring all of the upscalers into one. So basically, the upshot of this is, once implemented, instead of you going into the background and going, "Oh, I want DLSS. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want that." No, you just choose DirectSR, and it will handle all the best features in the background for you, because Microsoft is working with NVIDIA and working with AMD and working with, so instead of letting each of those features shine and each of those features has their own bells and whistles and this and that, they want, if you're in Windows, the ultimate goal will be, if you're in Windows and you want the best of the best of the best as far as upscalers and whatnot, you just put it on DirectSR, and it will handle, based on the hardware that it knows that you have, it'll handle the upscaling in the background for you.
You know what
based
this
on the
sounds like
others'
to me?
technology.
Well, you know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like Microsoft doing a Thanos and bringing in, "I'll do it myself," because because you know, unfortunately, when you leave stuff up to developers, depending on their staff and their, you know, and just the situations of the industry, they're not going to use all the resources and stuff, right? So while it does sound promising, I do have questions around it. Like, for example,
please, yes.
Like for example, is this kind of like, can I compare this to the same way that Xbox has been able to implement auto HDR in games? You know, where you just turn it on with a feature, and Microsoft's kind of gaming hub kind of does what it does. You know what I'm saying? Like, the features that they baked in, it does what it does. So I can kind of see this being kind of like the same thing, but like, how would it know? You know, and there's so many games now that release without all the upscalers that there's just questions from a technical aspect that I just don't understand. You know, like, why would they pick DLSS over FSR, for example? So those are kind of like the minutia.
Exactly. And the devil will 100% be in those details, because those are some of the questions that we need answers to, right? As PC gamers, you want your choice to say, "Hey, I want to use this versus that, and I've decided I want this versus that." What algorithm, what criteria are they using to decide A versus B, right? And what if you are a person that if your system doesn't have DLSS capabilities, right? What does it do to compensate, right? So what I think is interesting is not necessarily the minutia or the devil in the details of what they will choose. It's the idea that they have this mindset to be the aggregator. I've needed them to be the aggregator for a long time, because when you leave it up to the various different business units, that's when you get the, "Oh, install this app, install that app, install this functionality. Oh, well, now we have fluid motion frames, but it only works for a subset of devices versus the other devices." But when it's all being funneled by the operating system, now it can fundamentally work at a base level across the board, right? The devil will obviously be in the details, right? It'll be, how do they implement it? But the fact that they're not leaving it to developer implementation, and instead they're basically carving a lane made for this, means that it's easier to implement for developers, because they don't have to just pave their own road. It's already paved for them, right? Much like how you see on Xbox's side, how you see game saves just kind of instinctively be there all the time. That's what they are looking to institute here.
That's nice.
Something that's just there, the developers can just make use of, and then it turns it into a turnkey feature because they've already laid the groundwork for everyone else to just tap into.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds promising, and like I'm sure that Microsoft, especially with how much they're invested in gaming now and the future of the Xbox brand and devices and PC devices that Microsoft will be kind of championing, I can understand why they want to do this, and it makes a lot of sense. It's just that, again, like my kind of like my hesitation on getting excited about it is that I just wonder like what type of implementation like this will have with like like what incentive does Nvidia have like to say like, or do they have any, or does Microsoft say no, you don't have to do anything, we're going to do all the work for
that's
you?
exactly it. They do have incentive, and I see you in there, Lucius Garces. Welcome. He says he says that he doesn't believe that Nvidia has any incentive to do this.
There you go.
Right?
That's what I'm thinking.
And they have been, Microsoft has directly called out Nvidia, AMD, and you can see it in the DirectX the blog post right here. Right, they're gonna feature it broadly. I think they already did it in the GDC session. Right, the reason they have incentives to do it is because, as with AMD, right, they make the API reference design for DirectX. Right, and everyone forgets, but as open as a Windows platform as it is, Microsoft literally has a thumb on the scale of gaming. Right, as in DirectX, which is the fundamental backbone of game development. Right, and of course, this is Microsoft. They want to move us in a certain direction, or they want to move the ball in a certain direction. So they make it, they give incentive to move it in a certain direction. Specifically with NVIDIA, there is one reason alone that I can tell you they have incentive to do it. There's NVIDIA right now can thank Microsoft wholeheartedly for the reason that they are now in the $1 trillion club. Right? A lot of their AI advancements and a lot of their AI partnerships are because of AMD, of NVIDIA working with Microsoft in this AI realm, right? You don't piss off your number one money-making partner, right? So if they need a hand, you give them a hand. Even if you don't want to give them a hand, they're literally turning you into $1 trillion company. That is what NVIDIA is now because of these AI advancements. I don't think they go, nah, homie, we're not going to help you. You don't bite the hand that feeds. Right.
And NVIDIA is wise.
Another.
I mean, exactly. I get that from a business perspective. In this new world, where Kumbaya world that we live in, PlayStation is going to follow next, and they're going to make them $1 trillion company.
See, and definitively that these conversations are happening because, as the law pertains, if they hadn't had these conversations, they would not be allowed to list them by name in their blog posts. They would say other popular upscalers. They wouldn't call out NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR and XeSS by name. They have had those deals are already in place, and as such, they can use their names.
We gotta make a shirt with this Yuzuing it. Like that's literally what I'm gonna be doing right after the show. I'm gonna be Yuzuing it, okay? Because
technically, he didn't say Yuzuing it. He says he's using it.
Oh, that's what that meant. Okay, my bad. Listen, get your builds. That's all I'm gonna say. Fine, get your builds before they all go away. So
do like Kirby Zero Louise. Go in the bunker and start stuffing them the backups. Stuff the backups because you need them.
Okay, let me.
You're gonna need them backups.
Let me ask you something. How easy is it gonna be for the Yuzu team to crack that 60 FPS mod on the PS5 version of Starfield? I just
y'all and your ridiculousness. So before we get out of here, as I've been facetiously talking about stack your backups, I will just put this right here and say it's still available, people. You better get it before it's hot and before it's gone.
Hey, OBM, thank you for passing by, man. OBM, always great on every panel that he's on, man, giving good insight.
Yes, absolutely.
And hey, you could thank Kay for that, okay? I provide the comedy relief. Kay provides the information, okay?
Oh, we're all here to learn. We're all here to enjoy ourselves. But for those who are worried about emulation going away, don't be. Yuzu use open source software. Their source code is out there. Even before they were taken offline, you can easily find their source code, which means another team will pick it up and move it forward. Right. It is what it is. That's just the way it works.
Now be smart and back up your games while you still can, and don't forget those updates. Okay, those updates are important. So so okay, it's been another great week, man. Another great show. Thank you so much, man, for all the information and the conversation that I like having with you on a weekly basis. Okay, let everybody know, man. What are you gonna be up to this week? I know that you make guest appearances throughout the week. What shows are you got coming up? I know that we have a little break coming up because of some work stuff you got. And also I think there's a little, and I think that there's a little break there in between that I remember. But let us know, man. What are you going to be up to this week?
So I have some work trips coming up, but we might actually even have the show still while I have my work. Let me think. We'll see. Maybe Monday of the coming week I might not be available because I'm having a work trip, but we'll work the logistics there. Me personally, my priority this week to finish Banishers.
Hold on, Kate. Don't worry. For those of you concerned, Nintendo didn't come after us. We're not Yuzu. We're not folding. Okay, so we're not going anywhere. Go ahead, Kate. You're going to finish Banishers?
That's my priority this week. I want to finish Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. It's a great story. I've been enjoying it so far. So I definitely want to put priority on that and finish it. And I'm also playing Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, I should say, because you finished it, and I need to not be too far behind. So I'm doing that as well. So
did you?
And as far as we
modded up.
So my original version of the game that I played on Xbox, I fell into that trap, and I actually bought the 10XP way back in the day. So even when I replay it, I have that the extra XP, so I just replay it on Xbox. But I don't know, if I switch to PC, I may decide to go that route, but I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, WeMod is your best friend for that game. So Kate, you were saying what other shows are going to be appearing in this week, brother?
Oh no. Most likely you'll still be able to catch me this week. Most likely on Primetime Gaming, and then of course this weekend, myself and Everborn Saga will be back doing GCP, getting all slanderous and whatnot. But yeah, that's it for me. How about you, sir? Where can people keep up with you this week?
Like always, the X streets, man. Wrestling has been great lately, guys. Okay, we are in such a great, and I know you're not an avid professional wrestling watcher. Man, let me tell you something. The wrestling, both WWE and AEW, they've been cooking. They're cooking, man, right now. So it's good to be a wrestling fan. Lots of good stuff there. You'll catch me on X talking about wrestling pretty much nonstop these days. And then, of course, John Wolf, X, PlayStation, Steam, all those good places, Xbox, of course. And guys, it's been a great show. Thank you so much for everybody that turned out. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for everybody that joined our Discord. We'll put it in there one more time before we go. And until next time, guys, peace, and download Yuzu. Get those game updates because they're coming. Nintendo's coming for everything. So
the Red Ninjas, they're coming for you.
They're coming. Peace, guys.